Good.
Now, Valeria, now you are the host. Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So Valeria, you are the host now. You can carry on. Hello? Yes. You you have to put on your mic. Valeria, you have to put on your mic.
Hello, you
Hello.
can start.
Yes, but to Valeria, yes. Can you talk now?
It's not.
Your mic is mute. Unmute the mic.
That's
It's on left hand. It's on left hand down there. There will be a sign of mic. So you unmute the mic, please. But your sound is coming. Can you speak? Will you speak, please? Oh, just a minute. Just a minute.
it's very bad.
Just a minute.
Let's connect.
Yes. No, yeah, you put on your mic. Yes, okay, fine. Now you can talk. You can start.
Okay. I can share my presentation.
Yeah.
Or just. It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Yes. Can you make it a full screen?
I would like to thank you, Mohammed,
Yeah.
to be a part of this important meeting. And I would like to present my country, Republic of Moldova, in the context of international situation in the field of museum. And I would like to present myself. I am a chair of IVCOM Moldova, and now I am a director in Chisinau City History Museum. That is a small municipality museum, but we have very big potential for our future development. First, I would like to present general information about cultural sector of Moldova. And in particular, I would like to share my manager experience in the frame of museum activity. And of course, in the within the IVCOM, in connection with the political course of Republic of Moldova to on European integration, they was in attempt to align the priority of the culture with the strategy of European Union. Due to the cultural policy of the Ministry of Culture of Moldova, the culture should become a viable sector that will be able to have a significant in our country. According to the cultural policy, our administrative system in the field of museum should more market orientated and project-based management approach, sustainable development of our country. Oh, sorry. Okay. And one of the most important priority of these politics is to further development of the sector of culture heritage and of course museum, and support local, regional and international cooperation and network. Moldova is a small and poor country in Europe, and of course, this development of cultural industry can help solve many problems in the local. In the last 10 years worldwide, the value of culture heritage has been strategic vision of sustainable development of society. Culture, and in particular culture heritage, is analyzed in a form of extraordinary potential from of the point of view as a social integration factor, as factor of accumulation of economic capital, condition for expressing social cultural diversity, the possibility of increasing the degree of acceptance and tolerance toward various social groups. And the definition about sustainable development was developed in 1980 on and based on three main pillars: economic growth, social inclusion, and environmental balance. Now this definition was completed by the culture as pylon of this sustainable development. Although if you talk about agenda for sustainable development 2030, we can mention that culture is not directly introduced in this target, but the culture and culture heritage is relevant for most of them indicated in this Agenda 2030. For example, if we talk
excuse me, Valeria, there are a few persons waiting in a waiting room. Can you admit them?
Excuse me, Valeria. In a waiting room. Can you
It's not-
admit them?
It's not clear. Sorry?
Participants are waiting in the room to get
Participants
admitted.
are waiting in the room to get admitted.
It's very bad connection.
So what I do, I can get the host.
I can get the host.
Here it is, and more. Reclaim host.
Here it is, and more.
Okay, I will do now.
Reclaim
No problem.
host.
Okay. So you carry on, please.
Okay. I will do, no problem. Okay. So you carry on. Please.
It's not clear for me.
Okay, just. Here are 5 people.
I can continue my presentation.
Yeah, you can continue. No problem.
Okay, but I would like to mention that culture is relevant for all these.
Yeah.
All these. Did you understand my English?
Yes, you continue, please.
At European what? At European level, the Council of Europe has adopted the European Cultural Heritage Strategy for 21st century, where heritage is identified as a key area of collaboration and development. In 2011, the European Commission organized a European and proposed a new European agenda for culture to continue and explain the heritage is still connected to sustainability at several national levels. According to the report of Europa Nostra, the role of cultural heritage for Europe research shows the contribution of sustainability. Also, the recommendation concerning the protection and promotion of museum and the collection, the diversity and the role of and sustainable development. As such, museums are institutions that aim to represent the natural and cultural diversity and playing an essential role in protecting, conserving, and transmitting heritage for next generation. For its part, the International Council of Museums and Sustainable Development. In the recent year, IVCOM, International Ethics Committee, has proposed a new definition of museum, which is widely discussed now at the IVCOM level, and which will be adopted in the next General Conference of IVCOM in Prague. In recent years, cultural policy in Republic Moldova become one of the priority for development of Republic of Moldova. But in Moldova, you have the problem faced by museum in our country. First of all, we have lack of sufficient space for storage in the museum, for display of collection, lack of modern equipment for strong and preserving exhibits, the old exhibits documentation system. Collections are not digitized in local museum due to lack of specialized staff, lack of modern infrastructure, which impede the museum activity. The Chisinau City History Museum is one of the most important cultural resources for the development of Chisinau City Municipality. The Chisinau City History Museum is located in the historical building, the Water Castle, which was inscribed in the list of monuments protected by the state. This building was constructed in the second half of 19th century and was conceived as a part of the city water supply on the highest point of the city Chisinau in that time. The upper level was built of wood and was destroyed by an earthquake, but in 1918 this building was renovated, and now this building hosts Chisinau City History Museum. Despite this problem mentioned that museum face, the city museum has a great potential for contributing to the sustainable development. And the following 7K activity are proposed as a plan for the contribution of the Museum City of History to sustainable development. First, protecting and safeguarding the cultural and natural heritage in the museum and beyond. Supporting and ensuring education in support of the sustainable development goals, ensuring cultural participation for all, supporting sustainable tourism, ensuring research in support of sustainable development goal, ensuring direct internal management and operation for sustainable development goal, and direct external leadership, collaboration, and partnership for the sustainable development goal. If you talk about protecting and safeguarding the cultural and heritage, natural heritage in museum, we can mention that our collection was founded in the last three our collection started to be funded from 1979, and now they count more 26,000 of objects. The first of the 7 the potential for sustainable development is protecting and safeguarding the cultural and natural heritage in museum. The protection and the safeguarding of the cultural and natural heritage form the basis of the discrete and explicit objective of sustainable development objective, and contribute more specifically to objective 11.4. Strengthening effort to safeguarding and protecting the world cultural and natural heritage. By presenting and capitalizing on its sound heritage, the Moldovan contribute to the achievement of above mentioned objective. This objective is closely linked to the achievement wide range of activities, especially learning. Here we can see this sustainable development goal 4, and research and innovation, sustainable development goal 9. In terms of researching information on the original purpose of the water town museum building, historical as well as ecological issue are addressed, such as the ecological use of water. For example, we plan now one big exhibition dedicated this ecological use of water, and this that can contribute for sustainable objective 6, ensuring the availability and sustainable management of water, sewerage for all. Museum can also contribute to safeguarding and protecting of cultural and natural heritage, providing people with the opportunity to express, experience and participate in expressing their own culture and the culture of others. Here they support Sustainable Development Goal 10, reduce inequality, for example. Supporting and ensuring education in development goal, museum collection and are the basis for development of various guided tour and thematic An example of successful cooperation in the field of formal education is a partnership agreement with the Faculty of Fine Arts and Design of the Pedagogical University from Chisinau. And here you can see one project realized with the student. Here you can see one exhibition which was elaborated together with the student, Chisinau Cultural Heritage today, which was presented by master student at the university. The participation of students from many universities contribute to this. Cultural participation help to achieve large number of sustainable development goals. For example, it contributes directly to the sustainable development Development Goals 10.2 by which by 2030 empower and promote the social, economic, and political inclusion of all, regardless of age, gender, disability, race, ethnicity, origin, religion, or economic or other status. And the Sustainable Development Goal by 2030, ensuring universal access to safe, inclusive, and accessible green space and public space, especially for women and children, the elderly, and people with a disability. Enabling cultural participation for all can contribute to poverty reduction, Sustainable Development Goal 1, improving health and well-being, being Sustainable Development Goal 3, promoting gender equality, Sustainable Goals 5, promoting sustainable community, supporting justice and access to information for all, and support partnership, Sustainable Development Goal 70. For example, the cultural program of 11 May dedicated to the International Museum Day includes the participation of different category of visitor, including children, student, independent actor from cultural sector, musician, for example, and sampling for free access for everyone museum. During next the museum is the initiator of a new touristic route, which include a series of memorial city associated with different relevant personality from Chisinau city history. In this touristical road was involved many stakeholder, researcher, tour operator, museographer. They was involved in the development of this touristical road, which where our museum is the main actor. Sustainable research in support of sustainable development goal is relevant for our museum too. Research and the events organized within the scientific project state program in partnership with the state university. This culture of promoting the image of Moldovan city through art and poetic was this 2 years program of collaboration with the colleague from the university, and here we have many different activity planned in the frame of our museum museum activity. In conclusion, I will here we can mention the external and internal leadership, collaboration, and partnership toward the sustainable development goal, and we have which was is relevant for sustainable development goal 70, and here we can mention many different association, public institution which was involved in our activity. And in conclusion, I would like to mention it is very important for our Chisinau City History Museum, and in our strategy, it is mentioned that it's very important to declare it as to declare as a cultural, scientific, and educational center with wide access to collection and scientific research. The museum should be not only a collection of unique artifact and the original object of the past, but also we plan to development museum as a place for communication and of course personal development. It is important to start the process of selection and evaluation of new brand and identity of museum, and now we start collaborate with the artist, and we announced one proposal for different actor proposed to start the process of elaboration of the identity and the brand for our museum. At this stage, it is we plan to strengthen the technical base, and now we equipped our section for digitization with the new technique. And the next important goal is it is the development of human resources by involving employees in the project activities that can provide additional source of IVCOM for museographer. We applied for many projects supported by the municipality, for NGOs who is involved in our activity, and of course IVCOM it is the main actor which can help to find some sources for development of our activity. To successfully carry out the main task of museum, it is necessary a close collaboration, of course, and the sustainable partnership of museum with the educational and the research institution, cultural institution, ministry, non-governmental organization, and of course local authority need to be involved in this process of development of our museum. And this was my small presentation, and also I would like to mention that this pandemic situation was of course was negatively impact for our development, and here some question prepared for my colleague also for us. It is very important to know how other museum how other museum resist in this pandemic situation, and which was the problem, and what changes was provided. It will be interesting to discuss in this Thank you very much for. And now
yeah, now you have to invite. Valeria, you are moderator too. So you have to invite next speaker.
Yes, I would like to invite next speaker. This will be Martina, which will present the situation which in Czech Republic, and this presentation about the preparation of the 26th ICOM General Conference, which is this topic, power of museum.
Yeah. Dear Valeria, thank you a lot. I would like to ask firstly, please, could you let me share my screen, because it's unable to me. I'm disabled to participant screen sharing, so please allow me. Or if
so I am making you host.
Right.
Yeah,
so if
yes, just
you are host now. You
yeah, I can. Great. So I hope that you all see my presentation properly. Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Thank you. So I would like to thank you very much for the invitation. It's for the second time, or the third, in fact, I'm here with the group organized by Muhammad, and it's great that we can meet here on this place by this occasion. And I'm very happy that I can inform you a little bit about the preparation of the 26th ICOM General Conference that is going to be held in Prague next year. And I would like to focus today on our topic we chosen, the power of museums. Why we choose the topic? We believe that museums in the 21st century have huge potential to influence the world around them, and often stand at the beginning of a long chain of social development. Museums preserve past and present, and interpret them and share them to the public for discussion. And what is also very important to be said, that museums have the power to make the world a better place. And I think that it's very necessary for all of us to have these words in our mind, because we need to be not only responsible for what we are doing, but also proud of what we are doing. And speaking about the power of museum, it can help us to be proud on our work. Speaking about power, so we have to ask ourselves what kind of power museums do have. And according to Gaylord, one Canadian museum theoretician, so she said that museums have hard power and soft power. And the hard power is the safeguarding of the tangible and intangible cultural heritage. Soft power is something a little bit else, and this soft power amplifies civic discourse, accelerate cultural change, and contribute to cultural intelligence among the great diversity of city dwellers, visitors, policymakers, and leaders. And museums preserve past while also helping people adapt to the present and future. I'm sorry. Speaking about power of museums, so speaking about the hard power, so museums do have their buildings, and from this point of view, they are very important creator of a public space. So, and even the countryside. On the left side, you can see the building of the National Museum in Prague, which dominates the main square in Prague, the Wenceslav Square, and it was all the most important Czech historical occasions, like for instance the Velvet Revolution. Was held a place where the oldest sculpture, clay sculpture in the world was prepared and was discovered. So this is how also the contemporary architecture of museums can co-create the country. From outside, but their interior is public space as well. Anyone who can visit it can only, if you decide you can visit museum, you have to only to purchase a ticket, and many museums are for free admission, and their interiors are public space as well. And the power of museum is to create the public space, and museums host many public activities like exhibitions. Speaking about the interiors, in the interiors of the institutions, of the museum institutions, people can meet. There could be a social interaction, and museums are cornerstones in successful placemaking. And placemaking refers to the interaction between people and place in the creation of the social capital. So on the left side, you can see the people visiting National Museum. On the right side, you can see people visiting National Gallery Prague. And you can see they are not only watching the objects of art, but they are staying, they are discussing about things they see. And discussion, it's also very important part of the power of museums, because museums bring agendas and persuade people to think and discuss about many ideas and issues. And I'm very happy that we heard Valeria's lecture, because she was, for instance, mentioning the discussions topic of the IVCOM Moldova, and she informed us about their discussion about the Agenda 2030, what is very important now. And in the museums, the discussion can be held, can be organized as a conference, or you can have a very intimate dialogue between two people visiting the museum. And speaking about power of museums, so museums can bring enjoyment, and human society is based on social interactions, and museums are one of the most important places where this is enabled. As you can see, interaction can have also many faces. Visitors can see some performance like fashion show or concert, or some art performance, any kinds are possible. And very important power of museums is education. Museums are places of lifelong learning. This is very important to know this, to speak about museums as schools for lifelong learning. You visit museums, or anyone can visit museums, as I already said, if they want to. It's a very democratical tool of education. And speaking about education, so it's not only the education of children, but it's really lifelong. You can see visitors of any age that they can come to museum, enjoy the time they spend in museum, and learn something and get some new skills. I introduced shortly the different powers of museum they do have, and because it's a very broad topic, I also would like to speak about the subtopics. We decided to focus on 4 subtopics, and the first one is museums and civil society. How museums influence the development of society, and the role of museums in human rights, social engagement, and political involvement. The second subtopic is sustainability, and we would like to speak about museums and resilience. And again, it's very important topic. Museums are now discussing the agenda 2030, and we also need to speak about how to develop sustainable funding models and advocate for the value of museums. The third subtopic is vision, museums and leadership, and we will questioning leadership for future models, challenges, and change. And the fourth subtopic is delivery, museums and new technologies. We would like to evaluate the impacts of technology for audiences, like we are using now for our communication, but we would like to hear also about the museum's experiences and positioning and protection of collection and visitors. So now I would like to speak a little bit more about the museums, about the power of museums in the field of museums and civil society, because for us it's very important to know that museums have the power to be the bearers of moral and ethical values. Museums have a unique ability to explain that which is hard to understand and convey that which cannot be spoken. Themes, no matter how complicated, painful, or unpleasant, that define the world are transformed in museums into art, knowledge, and enlightenment. Museums have an irreplaceable power to explain, clarify, and help build civil society, local and national identities, and social responsibility among each member of our diverse communities. And here you can see some examples of the exhibition of the Terezin Memorial. It's a memorial which recommends the Second World War, and it was a ghetto as well as a concentration camp in Czech Republic. The second subtopic, sustainability, museums and resilience. So speaking about sustainability, we have to speak about the power of museums to lead by example, to build a more environmentally friendly and sustainable world. Museums as public institutions can be a visible example of responsible and sustainable management in accordance with nature and environment. And speaking about this topic, I will really recommend you, being in Prague, visit the National Museum of Agriculture, because they are focusing on the topics which are nowadays very important. Speaking about power of museums, so museums and leadership is the third subtopics, and as I already told, leaders are very important for museums, and a good leader can make a museum successful even in a difficult periods. The last subtopic, museums and new technologies. So again, we would like to speak about impacts of technology for audiences, the museum experience and positioning, and protection of collections and visitors. So we really would like to discuss many different technical positions of museums. And speaking about the power of museums, so museums can also bring positive changes. Museums have the power to be initiators of positive changes and progress, and to be active resolvers of crises and unexpected situations. Museums must react flexibly at the speed of the development of the world. They must look at the future and not lag behind, reacting to new situations and turn them into new opportunities. So everything is challenged. And museums in all their unique forms are places that bridge the past, present, and future. In a similar way, they themselves are joined together and join the individual in the diverse cultural society. Museums cannot ignore social or technological development, should accept the digital reality of the 21st century and use it as a means of discussions and as a theme of discussion. Museums must also be prepared, however, for the crisis and crisis situation that the modern world brings. So, and what is again the most important, museums have the power to make the world a better place. Thank you for your attention. Yes, so thank you very much. And if you have any questions, so please don't hesitate and ask me, maybe in the chat.
Thank you, Martina, for this very clear presentation and vision about the role of museum and the power of museum. And some questions to Martina.
Yeah, maybe later on. And if someone have any question, so please let me know. Yes. So and and Muhammad, I would like to ask, what's the next part of the program?
I think, Valeria, do you have to announce next speaker now?
Okay. Who I would like to interesting topic, cultural music value and social development in indigenous community in Pakistan. Ribka Raza
Malik.
Yeah, Rebecca, no.
If I can have the screen share option.
Yeah, sure. You can have screen share. No, it's shared.
It's still saying host disabled participant screen sharing, so I cannot share the presentation.
Okay.
Okay, I think it's a little bit a system problem. So I'm making you host, okay?
Okay, sir.
I can. I can.
So now you are host.
I can help. Can
Yeah,
I help?
We are listening you.
Share your presentation.
I can share now. Thank you. I have the access now.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, so I worked a little bit on cultural, musical value and social development in the indigenous societies of Lahore, Pakistan, where I am from. Before I start the presentation, I'll give a brief introduction, a background of who I am and why I chose this topic in particular. I'm a film graduate from NCA. It is one of the most prestigious universities in Pakistan. Now what I'm doing is MPhil in Mass and Media Communication Studies. Last year, what I did was that I started this small organization that worked for the indigenous societies of Pakistan, which basically works for those people who do not have access to schools or colleges or universities or any formal education per se. Now, art is one form which has no limitations. And this is what basically my concern was as well. And this was a new discovery as well that I did when I started visiting places like indigenous societies of Pakistan. So coming back to the initial discussion that the amazing two ladies did here, they basically spoke about the different spaces that basically collect different types of art forms, different types of art-related activities, art-related historical or contemporary things that people can actually view and can learn from and can share around, so that we can spread knowledge collectively around in the world. We can share the cultures, we can share our different art skills and talents. Now, while I was visiting different places in Lahore, I came across some slum areas. Now, people do look at slum areas or unprivileged areas as just a place where they can do charity work. But I also figured out something which was way more than just doing the charity works. I saw immense talent there, and I saw insane level of skills of different art forms, and those especially through children themselves. Now in Lahore, in Pakistan, in our culture, we have different sects and we have different communities which have different skill set as well. Now, the ones that I will be focusing on today are known as the Mir Alams. They're very famous in Pakistan. They're also known as the Mirasi groups. What they do is that they are very skilled in singing and dancing and in comedy. So I actually looked at all these characters as original artists, like born artists. Now, if I record what they do and if I actually present the skill set of these children, they can become superstars. So I will briefly discuss in my today's presentation of how I went about it, what the slums were, what the children were like, and how there were amazing artists who were discovered. And then there is a small surprise I'll tell in the end of my presentation as well. So what is exactly a slum? Slum are basically human settlements, mostly in urban peripheries, where the laboring class and marginalized communities live. In Urdu, these slum areas are called as kachi abadis as well. Now, there is a need a proper space, or they need materials, or they need proper workshops, or they need proper guidance, or schools or colleges or universities. What would people do who actually don't have access to all that and they still have immense level of art skill in them? These people who live in these kachi abadis, these indigenous societies, are actually those kind of amazing people who are actually not waiting for any space. They're not waiting for workshops. They're not waiting for any formal education, and they are still producing amazing artworks. According to the recent census, a city's population is around 11 million, and we can also call them indigenous societies. Now, if we look at it logistically as well, 11 million is a huge amount, huge number. So, there is a big number of people who do not have access, and yet they have a lot to offer in community development through the different forms of art. This overwhelming majority of these are likely to be found in slum settlements, where they don't have proper food, health, sanitation, living, educational facilities, and it is alarming number as well. Yet art is one form that knows no boundaries, that knows no hang-ups, that knows no guards. Art finds its way, like they say, life finds its way, art finds its way. So I met some really amazing young guys, young boys who, slowly when they opened up to me, they told me their skill sets of different art forms. I will share some videos as well of what exactly do these guys do, and how and why do I call them young little artists, and why these skill sets, these art skill sets intrigued me so much. And one thing which I also noticed was that, people in our indigenous culture, people in our indigenous societies, they deserve just as comfortable life as we all do. Yet they do not have as many privileges as we do. So what can we do about it? One answer that came in my mind was art therapy. If these children are given proper platforms, and if these children's skills are discovered and acknowledged or recognized by people like us, these can be amazing artists. They have a lot to offer to the society, and the number is huge. Like, if there are 11 million people who are suffering of this, and they have so much of art related things to offer, given a platform, they can do wonders. I'll show a small video to actually just share my experience of slums, that what did we do and how did we go about it. I'm basically a filmmaker and a film instructor myself. So all the people, what I did was that I engaged my students with me, and my students voluntarily worked with me. We went to the slums, we figured different things out from there. We figured out different kids with different skills. So I will show a small video of a little experience that we had at the slums.
या पैगंबर भी नहीं, तो इल्म का चश्मा या समंदर भी नहीं है, पर रब की निगाहों मुकद्दर भी नहीं है। जो कुछ भी है तू अपनी हदों को पहचान, रहमान की पकड़ से तू बाहर भी नहीं है। दुनिया न बसा दे दुनिया की हकीकत मच्छर की किसी पर बराबर भी नहीं है। Okay, look. Now how come I? So we went to Lahore और हमने कुछ homeless children को खाना खिलाया and we went there. Due to this current pandemic, we had to take precautionary measures. So I myself fumigated everything. So first of all, we cleaned the streets because वहाँ पे बच्चों को बिठाना था and we had to take precautionary measures. और उसके बाद हम बच्चों को लेने गए. I guess that's love. I can't pretend. I can't pretend. Now, before we could feed them, we had to wash their hands. So we sanitized each and every one of them before they could eat anything. My skin is rough, but it can't be cleansed. And after that, मैम रिप्का और जितनी भी टीम थी सबने सबको सर्व किया. My arms are tough, they can't be bent, they can't be beat. And I wanna fight again. I guess that's love. I can't pretend. I can't pretend. Oh, 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 oh. Felt really good. It felt really empowering कि जब हम उन बच्चों की हेल्प कर रहे थे, we were feeding them. बच्चे खुश हो रहे थे and we were really enjoying the fact that they were enjoying themselves. This was such a great project and I'm dying to do it again. And as soon as I get the opportunity, I'm gonna do it again. The whole team really wishes to inspire each and every one of you to take such initiatives. My name is Shahjar Khan. Our whole team led by Ms. Ripka R. Malik. May God bless you. Thank you.
Now, this was just a small background of how we came across these artists. And, then I also figured the history of Vincent van Gogh, the great artist himself. The great artist himself, he was from a very unprivileged background. He did not really have formal schooling. He did not really have formal institutes. Yet in museums today, one of the biggest art pieces that we see are by artists from unprivileged backgrounds. So I very firmly believe that artists are everywhere. They're in every street, they're in every slums, they're in every corner of every city. Not necessarily just schools and institutions. Yes, for privileged people it is, but for unprivileged ones, all people like us, what we can do is that we can make mobile museums everywhere, since art is everywhere and since talented artists are everywhere. So art and art related things are not or should not just be restricted to museums or institutions, but art form is something which I think should be like air. It should be everywhere and it does wonders. I will show in another video after my presentation is complete that these kids that you guys just saw, the small kids are from the slums, the original slums, and all the adults in these in this video were filmmakers or photographers. They're my students, I've trained them. Now what they do is that they go to the slums and we find different children that we can work with, and we teach them photography, we teach them filmmaking, we teach them storytelling, and I'll tell you the progress. One thing which was important for us was to gain their trust, to make them comfortable with us first. In that, there were two basic steps. One was the food preparation and the other was food distribution. With children, with small young artists, or with any artist, I would say, comfort level is very important. No artist can actually work just like that. So we do need our brain needs to work in a way that, we can do justice to the artwork that we're doing. With children, we figured out a way. We fed them good food, the food that we would have. We fed them, gained their confidence, and then they started opening up to us. Gradually, we saw that those kids who would hardly ever meet somebody, they started becoming our friends. They started sharing smiles. They started sharing their daily routines with us. Slowly but surely, we made more and more friends at slums, and we discovered their hidden talents. Most of them, surprisingly, what they do is that they make musical instruments out of the junkyard, out of the junk that they see here and there. For instance, they will see a box, they will put some ribbons on it, and they'll play it. And it's actually quite good, considering that there is a 4 or 5 year old child who is using absolutely nothing to make a musical instrument and then composing a music out of it is genius. Another thing that I noticed were that these children were born dancers. Dance is an amazing art form, and we do see a lot of dance related activities around in the world. There is a female who does masaka songs in indigenous societies of Africa. She goes to the different slum areas of Africa and she just choreographs dances with them, and the kids dance with her in a group. It has changed their lives entirely. Those small villages have become museums on its own. Like, people go there and they visit those children, and those children are amazing choreographers. Now they're being hired at different platforms globally around in the world. I'll show you one more video that I made just to show the hidden talents of these children. One, this kid, if you notice, this kid was in our other video as well, and he is an original character from the slum area. And after watching this video, then I will tell you guys what our future plans are with these children. Can everybody see the video?
Sorry, no. Please change the settings.
I think now everyone can see.
Yes.
उन्होंने मनो तबला बजाना सिखाया और मनो जाच भी है गंगदा शलकारा ओ गंगदा शलकारा मार भाई पैसा दे क्यों यामा मैं जब तबला बजाना ना लोग साड़ी बेइज्जती भी करते ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੋਕ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਕਿ ਕੰਦਰ ਵਾਲੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਰੋ ਬਰਕਤ ਉੱਠ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਇਹ ਮੇਰਾ ਤਾਂ ਘਰ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਮੈਂ ਰਾਤੀ ਇਕੱਲਾ ਬਹਿ ਕੇ ਤਬਲਾ ਵਜਾਣਾ ਤਬਲੇ ਦੀ ਪ੍ਰੈਕਟਿਸ ਕਰਨਾ ਇੱਕ ਦਿਨ ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਸਟੇਜਾਂ ਤੇ ਚੜ ਕੇ ਵਜਾਵਾਂ ਬਸ ਮੇਰਾ ਇਹੋ ਦਿਲ ਕਰਦਾ ਇਸੇ ਚ ਮਜ਼ਾ ਆਉਂਦਾ मेरी जुत्ती फिर टूट गई मेरी जुत्ती फिर टूट गई
Now, this was just a small glimpse of what these children are actually capable of doing. And what we did after discovering their hidden talents, I'll just share the presentation. What we did was that after figuring out that these children are immensely talented and they have a lot to offer, they have dance, they have singing, they have musical instruments made out of absolute junk, and they have lots of poetry to share as well, Punjabi poetry, which is a very celebrated thing in the Mir Alam caste at different events, at different wedding events. So there are a lot of things that these children have to offer. All they don't have is a platform. So I will be providing them a platform with the help of some supporters and some artists and some people who have been working in these slum areas for these children who discovered how immensely talented they are, yet they do not have access to schools or museums. They wouldn't even know what a school is. They wouldn't ever get formal training. So what we did was that we figured out that this is something that they can offer, and then we hired 5 of them. And what we will be doing is that we will be making a web series in which these children are going to be the original artists themselves. They're going to be the main protagonists, where they will be singing and they will be sharing their desi poetries, and they will be sharing their songs, they will be sharing their dances, they will be sharing their stories, which are not going to be any less than a masterpiece, I would say, because they're original and they have all the best art forms that these children learned themselves, they're self-taught. So we will be making 5-minute episodes once every week, in which these children will come display their talents. And considering the current situation, and after long research of 2 years, now we have come up with 5 scripts. After shooting those 5 scripts, then we will see what the feedback is like. We will see how the audience in the entire world take it. And then we will engage more children in it. We will engage more talents that they have in it. And then we are going to present more of it in future. Now, the videos of these talented kids from slums. Local dancers help these kids to earn money on their own. Local songs also help these kids remember their heritage, their roots, their culture, their folklores through songs that they depict in our rich history, festivals, seasons, culture, occasions, and much more. One very beautiful thing that we have here in our country is that we have songs for everything. We have songs for even a new crop that we have. When I'm sure everyone is aware of the festival, or you guys must have seen that festival where a lot of people fly kites. Now, in our country, in our history, what we used to do, that at the start of the spring, when we would see those yellow flowers in the spinach plant, we would celebrate. We would sing songs, we would have dances, we would have food, we would have lots of festivity, celebrations. So, in time, people tend to forget that as well. But we are trying in our humble capabilities to revive it and not let it expire, not let it get extinct. These children are culturally very strong. These children have a lot of folklores that they that they memorize, that they remember. Their parents tell them, since they don't have formal schooling like normal kids do, so what they do is that they have their seniors, they have their adults, they have their gurus who are usually transgenders, and they tell them stories. They tell them about their heritage, about their roots, about their dances. Now, we also have lots of cultural dances as well. We have 5 provinces in our country, and we have many different dances as well. If you will go in a slum area in the south of Pakistan, those children will again be very talented, but they will have different genre of songs, folklore, stories, and dances. If you come to Punjab, it will change. If you go to North, it will change. And all of them are extremely rich and have a lot to offer. Now, there are basically 2 kinds of things that we can do when we find artists and when we find art forms in indigenous societies, since they need a lot of work just for the initial development, and then we can make art grow on it. First, we need to focus on the foundation. So there are 2 kinds of action. One is state action and the other is direct action. In the state action, we need to depend on the countries, we need to depend on the institutions, we need to depend on bigger level things. On the indirect action, what we do is that if we come across one slum area, if we come across one needy person, one artist that we can help, who can grow out into some extravaganza, that is direct action. We don't wait for that. We just go and we start doing it. Second step was what I did with my students and in my particular domain. We actually went and we started thinking that as artists, because we all were artists, we all were from our background. So we thought, what can we do to change the lives of these children, to do the community development in these indigenous societies by utilizing their artistic skills. So we went for direct action. We started feeding them, we became friends with them, we discovered their hidden talents, gave them comfort, made friends with them, and now there's no stopping them. There is another concert as well coming that these children from these slum areas will be performing along with famous artists on the stage, and it is going to be the first time ever that they will be actually on the stage singing and dancing and playing their music, which initially they would just do in their slums, which would usually get unnoticed. But this way, we are hoping that, the world is actually going to see that these children are walking, talking museums themselves. Now, music, dance, singing, and other art forms can change the lives by productive and creative impact. This is something that I highly, highly believe in. Art is therapy. Art is like a soul in a body. Art is basically the expressions that we share. Art is a language that everyone understands. The brain works to its maximum limit when it is playing, when the body is playing or learning a musical instrument. That's a scientific research, that when a human being is playing an instrument or trying to play an instrument or trying to learn to play an instrument, our brain is working at its maximum capability. Singing is a great way of endorphins, oxytocin, serotonin release for a healthy brain development and growth. Now, we often think that, we are suffering of a creative block, or our brain is not properly functioning, or one thing or the other. That is basically the release of all these mental hormones is not in balance. And it's amazing to see that, simple things like music can actually do that. Singing can actually do that. These are art forms, and they're not just art forms. They have a scientific explanation of how a human brain can actually work to its finest capabilities. Art forms of any kind are greatly beneficial for self-empowerment. These children that we were initially working with, they would not even say hello to us initially. But when we got to know about their talents and we encouraged them and we told them that they were little superstars and artists themselves, it gave them huge confidence. It gave them it gave them this assurance that, you know, their skills can be shared and their skills can actually be explored and appreciated and recognized. And now it's unbelievable how these children have so many brilliant ideas. Once we execute them and showcase them on the digital platforms, it will be amazing. I would love to share that in future once we do that. Now, art, music, singing is a language that I personally say that it's a universal language. The tunes of music, singing, art, of it's one form of art. It touches your soul deep within, and there are a lot of things that can be done if a person is an artist and is discovered. Then there are a lot of things that can be done. So you guys can add to it as well. You guys can ask me if you have any question as well. What we will be doing in the coming months is execute the web series, where we're going to devote each episode to one child artist, and we will showcase his or her technical and artistic details, what they have to offer, if they have some dance, if they have some songs, if they have some poems, if they have some other artistic skill to share with us. We're going to shoot it, and then we're going to present it to different people around in the world. And then let's see how these little minions of museums will make wonders in the world. So you guys, if you have any question, if you guys have any query, you can ask me. You can also add to it as well. You can give me ideas as well.
Thank you, Rebecca. It's a very relevant presentation. Thank you for this your log.
My pleasure, my
and
pleasure.
Now next presentation we can ask curator from National Museum of Mongolia, sorry for Münch Bayer.
Hello, my name is Munguntsik. Can you hear me?
Ravik, excuse me, Ravika, can you make me host again?
Sir, how do I do that?
You just click on your name and then now click on my name, and
Okay.
then there will be a choice to make host.
Sir, it says you are already the host.
So because how can I
want to share my screen.
You want to share your screen?
Yeah,
so,
but host disabled.
Okay, I just give you.
Stories. I would like
Just checking because this
next speaker from National
Museum of Mongolia. I'm
I
ready,
just-
but I cannot share the screen. The host disabled participants screen sharing. Please give me permission.
Okay, I'm going to make you the host, okay? Just a minute, yeah, here you
I tried, but it's still disabled.
go.
Yeah. Host disabled. Yeah, participants screen sharing still disabled. Can I try?
It's not giving me the option.
Okay, I'm waiting.
Yeah, here I come. Make host. So you are now host.
Okay, thank you. I will try. Still disabled. Mohammed, I sent to you my presentation to your email.
No, just wait a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got the host.
Yeah.
I can share your presentation.
Yeah, just a minute. I just take back. Aditya, can you make me host?
No, still I can't.
Aditya, are you there?
Who?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Unfortunately, you made host. So you can return this power to me.
Okay. Yeah, I cannot share.
Yeah, that's because neither I am host nor you are host. Yeah, reclaim host. No, now I am. Okay, that's great. So where are you now? I have to find you. Let me admit some friends. Okay, so they are here. Oh no.
Sorry, disabled. Maybe.
Oh my God.
Let's save the time. Next speaker, please try to share your screen.
Yeah, but this.
Yes. While this
Yes,
time,
you are. Now you are host.
Okay, now
Okay.
it's okay. Yes. Can you see? This,
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Very good, and thank you very much, Mohammed. Give me this opportunity to speak about the Mongolian heritage listed in UNESCO. And my name is Mongolian. I'm the creator of National Museum of Mongolia. And I want to greet with all of you in Mongolian. Please try to say hello in Mongolian. Sanbano. Sanbano. Please try to say.
Sanbano.
Wow. Very good. Sanbano. Thank you. Sanbano. It's the Mongolian word. And first of all, I would like to introduce about Mongolia. It's a very brief introduction, and the Mongolia is a landlocked country in East Asia. It's bordered by Russia to the north and China to the south. The Mongolian territory is 1,566,000 square kilometers. And Mongolia is the world's 18th largest country. And Mongolian population is over 3.3 million, making it the world's most sparsely populated nation. The much of its area is covered by grassy steppe with the mountain to the north and west, the Gobi Desert to the south. The many people know the Mongolia by Genghis Khan, and who is almost the same age with the Notre Dame in Paris. Genghis Khan was born in 1162. Notre Dame was built 1 year later. And during the 13th to 14th century, the Mongol Empire was the largest contiguous land empire in the history, and the second largest empire by landmass, and it was the huge territory. The many people asked it. When we talk about Mongolia, they asked about Genghis Khan. And since 1990s, Mongolia became democratic country. The Mongolian parliament has 76 members. The political system based on multi-party system. And the Mongolian education. During the state socialist period, the education was one of the most significant achievements in Mongolia. Today, the adult literacy rate 97.8%. It's a high number, I think so. The school system based on 12 years. There are over 600 primary and secondary schools in Mongolia. There are almost 3 in 5 Mongolian youths that enrolled in universities and colleges. Now let's move to my topic. My presentation topic is interpretation of Mongolian heritage listed in UNESCO. But I want to connect my topic with the museum. The museum plays a huge role for the interpretation. The research institutions, centers of expertise, museums, archives, libraries, and documentation centers and similar entities play an important role in collecting, documenting, archiving, and conserving data, and interpreting on intangible cultural heritage, as well as the providing information and raising awareness about its importance. And now I want to share the other screen, which is the virtual tour through the National Museum of Mongolia. Can you see?
Yes, we are. Very nice to see in 360.
And yeah, here is a virtual 360 museum tour at the National Museum of Mongolia. Here is the first hall. Our museum has 9 exhibition halls. The collection is more than 60,000, which is about Mongolian archaeology, history, and ethnography collections. There are some of special collections over there, and here is the Hall of Mongolian Traditional Life. You know that the Mongolian traditional dwelling we called ger. Some people know the yurt, which is also displaying at this hall, which is inscribed as a intangible cultural heritage in UNESCO. Here is the Hall of Mongolian Traditional Culture. Also, we display many interesting and special heritages in this hall. Many of them registered and listed in UNESCO. One of the highlight is Mörohor. Also, I will explain about this one. So there are over 306 museums in Mongolia, which including state and local cabinet. The Mongolian first museum was opened to the public in 1924. The collection started at that time. The present building of National Museum of Mongolia on the picture, which was built in 1971, the significant responsibility for preserving Mongolian cultural heritage. On display are historical, ethnographical, and cultural objects ranging from Mongolian ancient past, dating back around 800,000 years ago, to the end of 20th century. The museum storage facility additionally holds over 6,000 historical and ethnographical objects. Some of the most historically significant items are displayed at the 9 exhibition halls, which are arranged according to the historical period and themes. I already displayed those 2 exhibition halls. So then Mongolia became 108th member of UNESCO in 1962. The Mongolia has acceded to 10 of the 30 conventions adopted by UNESCO. The Mongolia started to join UNESCO convention in 1964. For example, Hague Convention for the Protection of Cultural Property in the event of armed conflict. And Mongolia joined those all of conventions. As of 2020, a total of 1,121 natural and cultural heritage sites in 177 countries have been inscribed on the World Heritage List. The totally 32 Mongolian heritage listed in UNESCO. At present,
excuse me, check there is one participants want to join in a list.
Okay.
In a participants list.
Okay, 3?
Admit
Yeah.
her.
Okay. And at present, there are 5 World Heritage Sites located in Mongolia. Out of these, 3 are cultural, 2 are natural sites. And those are the, some of them are one of the high tourist attraction and tourism destination in Mongolia. And also there are 7 biosphere reserves and 5 memory of the World Register, and 7 are the inscribed intangible cultural heritage of humanity in need of the urgent protection. So there are 5 World Heritage Sites located in Mongolia. Out of those, 3 are cultural. For example, 2 are natural. Os Lake Basin is natural heritage sites, which was registered in 2003, and a landscape of Dagur. Those 2 places are the natural heritage sites, and Orkhon Valley, the petroglyph complex of Mongolia, and Great Burkhanhalta Mountain, its surrounding sacred landscapes registered as a natural site in UNESCO. So I just selected 3 of them to give the brief information. For example, Os Basin, which is located in northernmost of the enclosed basins of Central Asia. So it's a large, shallow, and very saline lake. They're important for migrating birds, water poles, and seabirds. The landscape of Dagur, which is the natural heritage site, registered in UNESCO 2017. So this natural landscape shared between Mongolian and Russian Federation. This site is an outstanding example of an Dagurian steppe ecoregion, which extends from eastern Mongolia into Russian, Siberian, and northeastern China. Cyclical climate change with the distinct dry and wet period lead to the wide diversity and species and ecosystems of the global significance. So next place is cultural landscape. It is located in central part of Mongolia. The capital of Mongolian Empire was located in this area, which is over 360 kilometers southwest of Ulaanbaatar, the capital of Mongolia. So the archaeologically rich, the Orkhon River Basin was the home of successive nomadic culture, which evolved from the prehistoric origins in harmony with the natural landscape of the steppes and resulted in economic, social, and cultural polities unique to the region, the home for centuries of major political, trade, cultural, and religious activities of successive nomadic empires. So as of 2020, there are a total of 714 sites from 129 countries are registered in UNESCO World Network of Biosphere Reserve. So including 7 sites from Mongolia, which are the Great Gobi, Bogotang. It is one of the oldest protected mountain in Mongolia. So Ost Lake Basin, the Hosta National Park, which is one of the important places for the wild horses in Mongolia. The Dornat Mongol is still placed in the eastern part of Mongolia. So Mongol Tagore, I just briefly introduced about this place, and Toson Hosta. Those places are the biosphere reserves. The next one is the Memory of World Register. Those are one of the ancient and sutras and books. For example, one of them, which is written 9 Precious Stones. Here is a picture of this sutra. It is also, there is one of the old, only surviving handwritten original manuscript in Mongolia, which was written in vertical script. This manuscript was written with bamboo pen on the motto paper in black ink in Mongolian vertical script. So those are the UNESCO's representative list in intangible cultural heritage of humanities. So first one is traditional music of Merenhor. Here is a picture of the Merenhor, and I will explain about it in the next slide. And the Ortindo, it is the traditional folk and long song. There is a picture. She was singing the folk long song. And Nadam, which is the Mongolian traditional festival, and we call the 3 Melli Games. The Mongolians celebrate the Nadam festival during the summertime every year in the 11th of July, which is the wrestling, horse racing, and archery. So next one is the Mongolian traditional art of Homi, which is one type of the throw singing. So falconry, you know that Kazakh people, they still keep this tradition. Also, it is one of the special event for tourists to show the falconry. So next one is traditional craftsmanship of Mongolian gear, which is the traditional dwelling, and its associated customs also registered, inscribed in UNESCO. The next one is traditional technique of making arak in Hohur and its associated customs. And when I talk about the Mongolian heritage, you don't know some of them because it's the Mongolian traditional cultural heritage. And in the next slides, I will try to explain some of them. For example, the Merenhor and traditional craftsmanship of Mongolian gear and traditional technique of making arak. Some of them know the arak as a kumis. So intangible cultural heritage in need of urgent safeguarding, those are the 8. First one is the Mongolian epic. The Mongolian next one is Mongolian traditional folk dance, the traditional music of Tor, the folk long song performance, technique of the limb performances, and circular greeting, the Mongolian calligraphy. It's the Mongolian traditional writing. We call it the called the Mongolian calligraphy, which is written from up to down. And next one is Mongolian knuckle bone shooting. It is one of the traditional game. The coaxing ritual for the camel, the Mongolian traditional practices of worship in the sacred sites, those all of heritage listed in inscribed in UNESCO since Mongolia joined the 2003 UNESCO's Convention for the Safeguarding of Intangible Cultural Heritage in 2005. So total of 15 elements of the intangible cultural heritage has been inscribed in UNESCO list. The government of Mongolia has been implemented in short, mid-term and long-term safeguarding measures towards the protection, inheritance and dissemination of those heritage to the strength of sustainable viability. So those all of heritage, all of things displaying at museum. So visitors can see those collections at the museum. They can touch, they can hear, and those all of 5 senses is also part of the feeling. It's one important role for the interpretation. Now I would like to explain just 3 or 4 cultural heritage when I talked. So this one is a traditional technique of making arag. It is the fermented mare's milk. When you see it, it looks like a milk. The color like a color is white. It looks like a milk, but smell, taste is very different. I hope that some of you know its taste. So the basic arag making technique consists of milking the mares and cooling the fresh milk and rapidly churning it inside the huhur. Huhur is this cowhide leather bag. This one is huhur. So bulur is a paddle, which is used for the beating the arag. So churning it inside the huhur over to 1,000 to 3,000 times with the starter. After that, it is fermented. The huhur and related equipments are made by individuals with the centuries, the old knowledge and skills, the skills required for preparing and maintaining the years are also particularly important. The nutritious and easily digestible beverage arag is the important part of daily diet of Mongolians and has also been proven to be effective for curing the certain diseases. So next one is a traditional craftsmanship of Mongol gear and its associated custom. The Mongolian traditional dwelling and gear and associated with its custom were registered unanimously to the list of intangible cultural heritage in UNESCO at the 8th session of Intergovernmental Committee for the Safeguarding of the Intangible Cultural Heritage. So this gear, which is displaying at our museum. So the craftsmanship of Mongolian gear is a traditional enterprise involving the labor of household of group, with the men carrying the wood and both women and men engaged in painting, sewing, and stitching, and felt the making. The gear is round structure wall. It's a round structure wall and poles and rolling roof covered with canvas and felt and tightened with ropes. The traditional craftsmanship is taught to the younger generation, principally through the mentoring by senior craft person. So still today, Mongolians live in a, however, the nomads live in a gear in the city and urban area. Some of the people still live in a traditional dwelling, the gear. And one of the very interesting thing, when you stay, if you stay in a gear, you can find 1,000 million stars in the sky. It's much better than five stars hotel. I would like to offer, please try this experience when you visit in Mongolia. So the gear, which is connected to Mongolian nomadic culture and nomadic life, the Mongolian herders, they move 4 times in a year. It's light enough for the nomads to carry and flexible enough to fold and pack, and sturdy enough to be dismantled and reassembled. Depending on the size, the gear that the Mongolian traditional dwelling can be assembled or dismantled in anywhere from 30 minutes to 3 hours. The gear can withstand Mongolian's first spring winds. It's also about 250 to 300 kilograms. That's why it's light enough to nomads to carry and one of the most flexible dwelling. So all of what I'm talking about, the Mongolian heritage, those all of heritage connected to the storytelling. The why story matters to museum, because all of the history, all of the heritage connected to their own story. So we all read, watch, listen the story. We all tell about those heritages to the next generation, to the tourists, to each other. So stories are part of what makes us human. So in fact, the stories are the very important for the human mind. And we often don't think about what makes a good. So here is the picture of Mördenhår, which is the horse-headed fiddle. It is the two-stringed unique musical instrument with horse head that is an aggregation of Mongolian traditional culture. So, however, which has 2 strings, it makes the wonderful melody. So there is the story in there is a story about the horse-headed fiddle, how it was created, how it was made. So this story started once upon a time, one of the person who had a wonderful horse. This horse could fly, and but one day this horse was died. This time, this man who wanted to save memorial with his horse, so he used the horse tail to make the string. So he played by this musical instrument. So he make a wonderful sound. How horse is galloping, such a wonderful melodies who can play. So that's why it is one of the most respected musical instruments. It became one of the most respected musical instruments in Mongolia. So the most significantly, there is a nice tradition of playing the horse-headed fiddle. It's the all ritual and ceremonial events of the Mongols. So before go to the next slide, it's almost the end of my presentation. Just I want to show you one video. Please wait a moment. Okay, this video, which is about the coaxing ritual for camel. Maybe it's very special. It seems very special ritual for you. And one of the Mongolian documentary, which is known the Weeping Camel, it's also very important part of this video. So this coaxing ritual inscribed in 2005 on the list of intangible cultural heritage in need of urgent safeguarding. So now I want to show this video. Can you see?
Mongolian domestic livestock and animal husbandry techniques have been successfully sustained in rural, semi-nomadic, and nomadic lifestyles. Nomadic livestock husbandry is more appropriate than crop agriculture due to the harsh continental climate of Central Asia, which limits water availability. The technique of handling livestock is one of the key elements of Mongolian nomadic culture. One of the unique, almost forgotten customs for handling livestock by Mongolians is the coaxing ritual for baby animals who are rejected by their mothers. Raising baby animals is the backbone of Mongolian traditional economy. On the other hand, milk and dairy products are a vital part of Mongolian tradition and heritage. These foods secure livelihood of the vast majority of our rural people. For the nomadic Mongols, camel milk has been not only the source of food and drink in the severe Gobi Desert conditions, but also has been the basic means of preventing illness and healing diseases. Mongolian milk products are produced by suckling mother animals. Mother animals give birth to their young in the severe spring of Mongolia. Many mother and baby animals die because of harsh climate and lack of grasses. Therefore, a herdsman should take care of a mother who remains without a baby or for an orphan. When a mother rejects the newborn baby, the nomads take the rejection very seriously. In keeping with the ancient ritual, a musician must be summoned to perform a ritual. The rite aims to coax the mother into nursing her or another's baby. Thus, the coaxing ritual helps the baby animal survive and saves the milk of the mother. This latter is because after the death of the baby, a female animal will stop producing milk. The coaxing word is sung gently over and over again until the mother suckles the baby. The coaxing word for camels involves a more complicated ritual than the others because the camel's behavior. When a mother camel is being coaxed into accepting a rejected or strange calf, it is said to break into tears at the gentle sound of hus and the enchanting melody of the moridhor or zur and flute song, and played by someone skilled in the art of casting spells on animals. The words are more than simple calls and have become absorbed into poems and songs. Sometimes a herder invites a singer and musician for a camel coaxing ritual from great distances.
Did you watch this short video?
Yes, nice video.
Thank you. And if I without my how to say, if I explain in English without video, it's very difficult to understand for the foreigners. That's why I selected this video to introduce this ritual. It's very special ritual in Mongolia. So I'm sorry, I talked many of the, I give you much of information for a short time. It's my mistake. So traditionally, we interpret means that the museum and museum staff, museum professional, we always interpret and explain the museum collection and cultural heritage to the public. So even we use the museum interpretation using the VR and AR, the high technology to interpret those heritage for the public. It's also one of the good way also it's very popular in the world. So now I would like to go on my conclusion. So this conclusion actually focused on the intangible cultural heritage. So we need to then follow the practitioners and bearers of intangible cultural heritage when they're organizing exhibitions, lecture, seminars, debates, and training on their heritage. It's also one good way to interpret the cultural heritage and displaying it to the museum. Also, next one is introduce the developed participatory approaches to presenting intangible cultural heritage as living heritage in constant evolution. And next one is focus on the continuous recreation and transmission of knowledge and skills necessarily to safeguard the intangible cultural heritage rather than on the objects that are associated with it. So next one is employ when the appropriate information and communication technologies to communicate the meaning and the value of intangible cultural heritage. The last one is involve the practitioners and barriers in their management, put in the place participatory system for the local development. So finally, I would like to end my presentation. The museums are one of the most suitable places for interpretation. So it's end of my presentation, and I'm sorry for the too much information, but I hope that I could give you some of the inspiration to study about Mongolian cultural heritage. And thank you for your attention. And do you have any questions?
Thank you. Thank you, Munu, for this very beautiful great. And speaker, and I would like to invite our colleague from Kyrgyz National Museum of Fine Arts, Altinay.
Hello, everyone.
Ergenova, please.
That's right.
I invite you.
Okay. Do I have to become a host to be able to share a screen then?
Do you need a screen share? Okay. So I make you host. Okay, I make you host. Okay. I make don't worry. Yeah. Make host. Yes. So you are the host now.
Okay. Turn this on. Is it working? Are you seeing? Are you seeing my presentation?
Yeah, I can see your presentation.
I'll just turn on the slide.
Make it a full screen.
Yeah, 1 second. Okay.
So that's great.
Okay. Well, my presentation is a nice follow-up to Moon Tsetseg's presentation. We are neighbors with Mongolia, and we've seen on her presentation some of the elements common to the nomadic culture, and the Kyrgyz share the legacy of the Great Steppe and also the beautiful phenomenon of the yurt. And most of the things I'm going to talk about today is the interior of the yurt. The Kyrgyz yurt is somewhat different from the Mongolian counterpart, but it is as colorful and as beautiful, and decorative and applied art is what the Kyrgyz practiced up until the 20th century, when they were still nomads, and then things started changing somewhat in the 20th century with the arrival of Russians and the Soviet power being established. So the yurt is the ancient dwelling of the nomads, and the yurt itself is a masterpiece of decorative and applied art that is still upheld among the Central Asian nations. And since you're a nomad, you basically lead a very minimalistic way of life. And so whatever the Kyrgyz used, they decorated that and with embroidery and embossing and all kinds of different techniques. And they never kept anything that was not did not carry a utilitarian function. So no paintings in heavy wood frames, no books, all the literature was passed down orally as well until the 19th and 20th century. So the yurt, we're gonna talk about the tangible. We'll leave the poems and the literature aside for today and talk about the objects that you can touch and feel and use and sleep on, and not just look at them in the yurt. So whatever was functional, that was also decorated, and that would also be decorated and applied in a household. And the main material was, of course, felt. Since we were cattle breeders, we had a lot of felt used, and it used to be used to cover the wooden frame of the yurt. Huge pieces of felt, and it was waterproof as well, thanks to the special lipid that would be found in in a sheep's wool. So that would make the yurt warm and also water resistant. So that wooden frame made out of willow branches would be covered with pieces of felt, and then it was a lot of felt on the inside too. On the right, you can see a painting by Siman Kulchokmorov. He's mostly known as an actor around the Soviet Union, but first and foremost, he was a painter, and he, in his works, relate this colorfulness of a Kyrgyz yurt. It is not this colorfulness. Sometimes it's like sometimes you feel like you need to poke your eyes out. But interestingly, the yurt interior is it doesn't, it's not that psychedelic, and it's all harmonious, and all those things that are made traditionally from traditional materials, they do not strain your eyes, and it's actually very therapeutic. It's like color therapy, because all the dyes, all the colorings were natural, that would be obtained from roots of flowers, different plants, and even sometimes certain types of soil. So as you enter a yurt, it's one round shape. You can see the door here is on the left. And you would notice that the floors and the walls are covered with all kinds of different carpets. And on the top left corner, you see a floor carpet that's called sherdak. And it's a felt carpet that's made by using the so-called mosaic technique, when the two pieces of felt are taken and then an ornament is cut out and then flipped. So you get the white on brown and brown on white. And it is a very, it is a philosophical principle that is common to the ancient practice of Tengrism, the religion that the nomads of the Central Asia practiced in older times. And that principle is balance. And you can see here the balance between the brown and the white, and the background and the ornament, which is hard to tell where the background is and where the ornament is. So that's the founding principle of Tengrism. So those would be on the floor, and on the floor you would have mostly the zoomorphic and anthropomorphic elements. Like here, for example, in the middle, we see the horns of an animal, horns of a mountain goat. Then you have, as you enter the yurt, across from the entrance, you would find tushkis, that is a wall hanging. And tush means the word across, and that's where you'd find the most honorable place in the house, across, furthest from the entrance. Even now, the Kyrgyz seat their guests at a place furthest from the entrance to the room. That's the most honorable place. That's called Tör, right under this beautiful wall tapestry that's called tushkis. So tush means across and kis means felt. But this one example is not made out of, it's not made out of felt. It used to be made out of felt in the older days. That's why it's named kis. But now, well, with the Silk Road, the textiles became more available. So now they can spare some fabric to be used for tushkis. So that's embroidery on fabric, and that would be mostly on the walls. It would be mostly plants and abstract symbols, like all kinds of solar signs and swastikas and different plants. It was like a meditation for women. It's more like a mood board or something. The common psychological practices that are popular today, that's what the Kyrgyz women used to practice. If you want more kids to be born, you embroider the cucumber ornament, Turkish cucumber or paisley. If you want more sunny days, you embroider the solar sign, the swastika. If you want more cotton harvest, of course, you embroider cotton blooms. And then between the felt and the wooden part of the yurt, you can see this white spaced left, right of the door frame. That's cheese straw mat. And it's made in a technique resembling you know, the mats that you use to make sushi rolls. So that's made in the same way, but they are also heavily decorated, and each straw is taken individually, and colored wool is wrapped around it. So everything was made out of natural materials, and with this no waste approach. When the Kyrgyz would take down their yurt, they would leave nothing behind, no plastic, no trash, no nothing, because they would use up everything. Okay, how do I switch to the next slide? Okay. And then things changed in the 20th century. Soviet power arrived, and in the middle of the 20th century, the Kyrgyz started moving to the cities, and urbanization took place. And of course, the government had to house a lot of people who became settled now, and there is only a few now that actually live in the yurt year-round. It has not become as practical, and it is more of a touristy attraction now, except for the cattle breeders. So the Soviet apartments, some of you who are from the former Soviet bloc, well, Valeria probably would recognize some of the buildings in Moldova would certainly look like some of the buildings in Bishkek or in Vilnius or in other parts of the Soviet Union, because they were serially constructed. And so now we get smaller rooms and lower ceilings, and all the yurt interior kind of is rendered unnecessary and it became endangered. So the artists faced the challenge of having to save all that and adapt it somehow to urban housing. And then the functions of the art began changing, and we'll see about that also. So the floor carpets, we talked about the sherdak, and then we have another type that's called alakis, and that is not made in a mosaic technique. It's basically wholly felted. You can see some women working here on an alakis, and what they do is they lay out colored wool on a background, and you can see a cheese troll mat here on the left. It's speaking at us, and it's also used to felt the wool, and so it's a wholly felted piece of felt, and it looks like the ornament has been basically painted on it. So that would be the floor carpet. And what the artists did is that they took it from the floor of the yurt and put it on the wall in a city house and an apartment, and they changed the ornament, and it's not so strictly coded. They no longer paid attention to the traditional ornamental code, which is very strict and regulated so that it can be readable. And then this artist, Jumabay Metov, he's one of the first traditional craftsmen who gained professional education. And what he did is that he took the traditional craft further, and he managed to keep the traditional techniques and materials. He just started playing around with his own imagination or drawing inspiration on the Western artists, which is the Henri Matisse here. And you can certainly see the resemblance here. He was inspired by Matisse's The Dance, and he made his own dance, but it is the cowboys dancing here, the cattle breeders in the mountains of Kyrgyzstan when it's springtime and you go to Jaylo, to the summertime pasture in the mountains. You can see the chabans, the cowboys dancing, and then the horses also joining their dance. So he's adapting the traditional craft to modern design. So that's what happened in the 50s and 60s of the 20th century, is that people like Jumabay Metov, who gained their knowledge and craft from their parents at home, they started getting professional training in Moscow and St. Petersburg. And of course, you have the Hermitage and the State Tretyakov Gallery there, and you see a lot of a ton of masterpieces from around the world, and you get inspired and you try to process that through your own background and then give forth something new as a result. And one of those was also Raykul Akhmatova. That is also an alakis, and you can see that is no Kyrgyz traditional ornament. That is a motif that you would find on the most ancient type of art, that is the petroglyphs. And on the left is the site that inspired her. That's Saymalutash, located in the south of Kyrgyzstan, that has petroglyphs from 3,000 years ago. So she managed to take this very soft and very very soft material like felt that is famous for its plasticity, and she managed to transfer images that were carved into a very different sort of material, like the stone here. And she managed to transfer it from one medium to another. So the same happens with sherdaks, the floor carpets that we talked about earlier. They become very popular in the West and in the city interiors. Usually, well, even though, well, we'll get to that later, but the size changed. And so did the color scheme. You know how Westerners are more into more somber colors, and whatever would look nice in the yurt, of course, would like be very hard to adapt to, for example, a Scandinavian interior. So the designers now play around with sherdaks and with the color schemes. And of course, with the ornaments now look a lot more different. Those square thingies in the middle are the seats for chairs. So now you no longer sit in the yurt on the floor, but you sit in chairs at the city apartment, but then you can still have some felt underneath you. So that's a nice adaptation. Even though the yurt is round, the sherdaks were never came in a round shape. Traditionally, they are all square or rectangular. And now, of course, to adapt and to accommodate market demands, craftsmen and craftswomen blow up the size, because now people start having gigantic yurts. They blow up the size, they change the motifs, they step away from traditional ornament. Like here on the left, you can see some of the traditional, but then you can see a petroglyph in the middle. That's the symbol of the World Nomadic Games. If you've heard of them, we had them happening biannually with all the nomadic games, nomads participating and not nomads. So we had a Mongolian team participating as well. What they did with sherdak, it's not only the Kyrgyz designers who play around with it and use it in their work, but also famous Western brands like the Hermès. In 2017, they adapted the Kyrgyz traditional ornaments and sherdak techniques and put them on scarves, on headscarves. And that was a very successful adaptation, and it greatly popularized, this collaboration greatly popularized, of course, Kyrgyzstan and Kyrgyz traditional craft. The horse, by the way, is also a breed common to Kyrgyzstan. The chi mat. The chi mat is the straw mat that is lined along the walls of the yurt between the wood skeleton and the felt outside, and it's used there to keep away the wind and the moisture. And also, since it's a steppe grass, it's basically a plant, it would be dug out with its roots and kind of dug into the earth around the yurt, along the walls of the yurt, so that it would be actually planted there. So it would plant its roots and keep the mice and snakes away from entering the yurt. So it had a very utilitarian function. And it also would be the example that you see here on the left, the two pictures on the left, heavily decorated. They come from a very rich household, and those would be used to separate kitchen space in a yurt. So you'd have to, because it's there's no walls in the yurt, they would use this chi mat as a screen to separate kitchen space. And what Jumabai Umetov did is that he actually he did not only keep the tradition, but he also kept the function, while the carpets are more decorative now. Here he managed, like, this is his ingenious way to keep the function of the object too. He just laid the example on the lower right corner is the room divider screen, but it can be used now in a city apartment, and it is still the same steppe grass. It is still woven, and it's still wrapped with natural 100% sheep wool, but and it still has the same function of separating space in a yurt, in a room. But of course the contents change, and if you notice it, you can see the Andrei in here and his famous paper cutouts that he did later in his life. So here not only the tradition is kept alive, but also the function. So it's not just decorative panel on the wall. And those are examples of decorative panels made out of the same steppe grass, chi, but they are more decorative now, and the size, of course, changes to accommodate smaller rooms and old Soviet apartments, so that they would look more adequate. Same happens with Tushkis. Well, Tushkis is very unique because now it's going through a revival, and there are different classes that women attend to make their own traditional Tushkis in a traditional way, and for the same reasons that our grandmas did to make something for their children as a blessing or as a wedding gift, and to embroider and to visualize all the well wishes that the mother has when she marries off her daughter, for example. They embroider the names of their children, they embroider the year that it was made, and of course all the beautiful flowers, wishing that their life is prosperous and abundant, all the different cucumbers, so that the new family bears more children, and that the family line goes on. But the embroidery also now is used on different decorative wall hangings, and on the left you can see up close detail of embroidery on wool, which is a very ancient form of art for Kyrgyz. But here the artist employed traditional embroidery techniques, but a modern motif. She has some camels and sand dunes, but you can see all the different embroidery stitches there, and they all have their traditional names that come from the older days, like Ilmedos and Germeme and Basma. Some of you may recognize it because embroidery is very common to many cultures, and it all might seem familiar to you too, because it's the very ancient type of art. So they are keeping all the traditional stitches, but they are again stepping away from the traditional and bringing forth their own tradition, artistic ambition. Like here, for example, we have on the left, we have the traditional examples of embroidery on wool, on leather. The middle piece is embroidered man's pant, and in the middle we have embroidery on wool. And on the right, we have a modern art piece which employs all those embroidery techniques. And it's still woolen thread on wool, on felt, but it is a modern piece of art now. What also happened to decorative art, it's well, to applied art, basically applied art that the Kyrgyz practice. It did not only change the function and became decorative, or but it also gained a new function, and that is propaganda. That is a sneaky trick that the Soviets employed. They borrowed it from the church, actually, the church that is the opium for people, as the Soviets said, but they didn't refrain from borrowing a life hack from churches with their beautiful stained glass windows or frescoes. And so the applied art here, like carpet weaving, for example, became an art of propaganda, which is like in church, you influence people through visual material and not through words. So you can talk, you can communicate even to the illiterate. That's why the church had the frescoes up, to communicate to the illiterate public. And so here, the Soviet government commissions pieces to craftsmen to make art that promotes Soviet ideas and Soviet ideals. On the left, we have a traditional piece of carpet from a yurt. That is a piece of furniture. Actually, all furniture would be attached to the walls of the yurt, and it would basically be those big bags where you would put clothing and headdresses and all the household items. So you'd keep them off the ground. And on the right, you see a carpet that is a very recognizable Soviet propaganda. You see lots of red here, and you can see a soldier with this revolutionary uniform of the Soviet army from the times of the Great October Revolution. And the same thing here. It is a huge piece. It occupies a whole wall in our museum, and it is called The Elections, which of course promotes the idea of free elections and communicates to the Kyrgyz that you can you can climb a social ladder no matter your social origin, which is until the 20th century, the power passed down from father to son in the Kyrgyz society. So you can see lots of red color here. It's very monumental in size, and it is a commission from the government. So it is not a craftsman just making a traditional carpet, and it is not a professional craftsman who, you know, kind of relays his artistic thoughts. It is an actual order from someone. So propaganda art made by order. And then there is a traditional form of patchwork that's called kurak. It is a traditional patchwork technique that was widely employed among the women of Central Asia. Of course, if you're a nomad and you're a minimalistic and you do not produce your own fabrics, for the most part, you value each piece, and even and you wear things until they fall apart. And after they fall apart, you take those little scraps and then you make something new out of them. And it is also a form of art that is going through a revival right now with all the eco-friendly movements, and kurak is one of those. And you can see on the left examples of traditional kurak. So that is a blanket. Sometimes they would also do wall hangings, and it would also serve as to draw away the evil eye. You see how that black and white tunnel kind of draws your eye in, and so they would attach those small pieces to the children swaddle clothes, to children's, like put them on the back of their clothes so that they would draw the evil eye. And on the right, you can see how it is reimagined in nowadays. This artist turned the tradition of kurak, the tradition of patchwork, into jewelry, and she makes those beautiful pieces, and they are meant to also keep the function of protecting someone who wears those. It's earrings and brooches and pendants and all kinds of jewelry things. Even for men, she made those little bolo ties. So she has a line for dedicated especially to men, because men need protection from evil eye too. And this is another artist who makes beautiful wall hangings made out of patchwork, and she now leads a project dedicated to actually finding fabric, looking for fabrics in those dump grounds, basically in the trash, because a lot of we have a very developed textile industry, but they're not as eco-conscious yet, so they just throw everything out. And she goes out and seeks those, and she makes those beautiful wall hangings. On the left and on the bottom, you can see those are the beautiful pieces that she made, and she's having an exhibition at the end of the year in our museum. And also look at what she wears in the upper left corner. That's a vest, traditional women's vest that's called kemsel, a camisole that is made out of her father's old neckties. So that is a brilliant way to use and to recycle fabrics nowadays. And on the bottom, you can see a group of ladies who have made their own kurak chapans. We take our old jeans or old skirts and we make them into a new piece of clothing. It's basically recycling. And I made one for myself, actually. I'm the second one from the left here. Same things happen to jewelry.
Excuse me,
Yeah?
Alpana, you have to wind it up quickly.
Yeah, it's just one more slide, 2 more slides, and that's it.
Okay, fine.
And then with jewelry, it's also the same. Usually the Kyrgyz wear silver and not gold, because silver is also believed to chase away the evil spirits. And of course, it would be girls who would wear it. You can see the historical photograph of an unmarried Kyrgyz girl who wears all kinds of silver jewelry. It would be all very heavy, so she would have to keep her posture straight and move gracefully. And on the right are pieces by a modern designer who employed all the same materials: the silver, the coral, the bone, the mother of pearl, but those are devoid of their utilitarian function. They are just for display at a museum. You cannot even wear them. So that's how far the jewelry art has gone here in Kyrgyzstan. You cannot even wear it now. You can just look at it. And same thing for all the other household items. They used to be made out of wood and leather. On the left, you can see a cow's udder that was also processed and served as a vessel. Remember, the Kyrgyz would not throw anything away. And on the second, on the left, it's actually the kokur, which is Munu talked about in her presentation. It's just in a different shape with us. And now they make wooden ones, and the dishes are mostly wooden. I haven't seen new leather dishes being made, but we certainly return to wooden dishes here. So there's here's what we have in terms of adapting and saving the cultural heritage, the material cultural heritage. And I believe that it has a great potential. So we can have designer students coming in, and we talk about how we can adapt the traditional ornaments and techniques to modern fashion industry. So that's it, basically. Thank you for your attention. I'm sorry if I overstepped my time limit, but I get very excited when I talk about it, Kyrgyz applied art. Thank you.
Thank you, Altinay. Thank you for your presentation. Nice decorative art, nice jewelry, nice tapestry. You have very rich heritage. Thank you for. Maybe some question. Great. And our last presentation from Egypt, Kalev, Nura, we would like to invite. The art of Egypt.
Thank you, Valeria. Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me well.
We are watching.
Can you allow me to share my screen?
Do I have to somehow hand over the host thing?
Yes.
Or not? How do I? Okay, I see. Is that it? Did I do it? No?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. And now, can you see the presentation? Is it clear? Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Anyone can hear me? Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. Can you?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for saying this. First of all, I have to thank Mr. Muhammad Javid for his kind invitation. IVCOM family, panelists, and attendees, I'm so proud to be a part of the International Virtual Conference on Museums for 2021, Art, Culture, and Heritage. My presentation today is about the arts of Egypt, how it was layered over to form our history and to produce our national cultural heritage. Okay. At the beginning, let me introduce you our Egyptian lands. The Arab Republic of Egypt is located in the northeast of Africa. We are one of the presidential regions. The capital is Cairo. In Egypt, there are about 27 governorates with a population over 110 million citizens living on 1 million kilometers square land, speaking Arabic and using Egyptian pounds as our national currency. So today I will start my presentation talking about the Egyptians' history timeline. The Egyptian history has passed through about 13 paradigms. The pre-dynastic Egypt was divided into Upper and Lower Egypt. During that time, we started our hieroglyphic calligraphy, poetry, and ceramic works. During the early dynastic period, Upper and Lower Egypt were unified by Mena, the first pharaoh. Memphis was the capital of the country, and the strong central government support the sculpture works and encourage new artistic methods. The major art that were emerged during this period was the architecture of pyramids, and the first step pyramid for King Zoser was constructed at Giza, besides some sculptures and 3D paintings. In the Old Kingdom, the sixth dynasty has experienced the collapse of the central government, leads to local art styles developing, including architecture, sculpture, painting, and some of the pyramids, the Great Pyramids and Sphinx were built at Giza with some internal decorations and some statues and figures. In the Middle Kingdom, Menhotep reunited Egypt, and in the 11th dynasty, god Amun-Ra rises to prominence and becomes a center of cult at Tiba. The art of sculpturing, painting, and mummification were developed during this period, and women began to appear in individual portraits on the walls of the temples and in the tombs. In the New Kingdom, Hatshepsut was the first female pharaoh to rule Egypt. Akhenaton rules and attempts to introduce the worship of a single god. The youngest king, Tutankhamun, ruled Egypt, followed by the king Ramses II. This period is known for the political stability and economic prosperity. In addition, the art of architecture, sculpturing, paintings, and mummification, fashion, handcrafts have evolved in this period. Akhenaton adopts the Amarna style of building and style of art to elaborate the hidden tombs in the Valley of the Kings, created sandstone, ballast, and granite widely used. And also large-scale battle scenes in the temple decorations were created. In the late period, Egypt regained the throne. The art of sculpture and metalworks was recalling Egypt's great past, took inspiration from aerial eras. More realistic statuary was created and fine works were done in metal, gold, silver, and bronze. Minor arts such as alabaster vases, fine potteries, glass, ivories, and metal works, flourishes were also produced at this time. When Alexander the Great conquered Egypt and the Ptolemy dynasty was founded, architecture was evolved at that time, and colossal statues grace temple pylons along with sphinx faces and the new of vultures in female forms. High, mostly rounded, and heavily modeled relief styles were adopted in the temples and in the crowns of the columns. When Cleopatra died and Egypt became a province of the Roman Empire, in the Roman period, Christianity was adopted as the official religion of Egypt, and art decorations with pagan and Christian themes were widely used. The Egyptian art was only produced for monuments strongly connected with the religion, including temples, and all relief were inscribed in hieroglyphy decorations. During the Roman Byzantine time, the architectural elements from an early Christianity church were widely used. The church buildings were also covered with floral and leafy motifs, sometimes combined with birds and animals. Similar motifs appeared on pottery of this period. The Coptic language was used for inscription, including monastic accountants, extract of the Bible, and the lives of the great saints and bishops, where all these colors and paintings were used on the inside of the churches and in some temples here in Egypt. During the Arab Empire, Islam was adopted as the official religion of Egypt by Amr ibn al-As. The Islamic art was the main theme, with a range of artistic fields, including architecture, calligraphy, painting, glass, ceramic and textile, metal, porcelain, textile, as well as jewelry, weapon, wood, and every objects, carpets, and many things else. Of course, you can see most of these artworks here in the presentation. Many buildings were built following the Islamic style, religious religious spaces, houses, and public markets were built on the Islamic style, and the new types of spaces and buildings were emerged, like khanqa or sabil, where people passing on the street can find water, so it's easy to drink water for free. Some spaces also like Tekiya and Wakala. Wakala was a closed kind of market here in Egypt. Islamic ornaments were used for decorations using plants and geometric forms. During the Ottoman Empire, Egypt was a part of the empire that extended from Asia, Africa, and Europe. The most popular forms of art, including calligraphy, painting, poetry, textiles, and carpet weaving, ceramics, and musics, were also evolved at this time. The Ottoman architecture also helped define the culture of the time. Elaborate mosques and public buildings were constructed. New types of art was emerged and called public biography. This public biography was like a story written and displayed in the public areas, and with some paintings, really beautiful paintings in it. Authentic Arab morals and glorified the strength and pride and magnanimity of the Arab, and bad morals such as betrayal and technocrats are denied with special paintings. This was really funny paintings here in Egypt. When Egypt was a protectorate monarchy, the modern art was an essential visual expression of the Egyptian national identity and freedom from foreign oppressions. The artists of this period were like Muhammad Mukhtar and Muhammad Saeed. Artists experimented with new forms of art, such as surrealism, cubism, and of course, these schools were widely used in all of the world, and abstraction. The preservation of art and crafts tradition argued artists to explore and advance the crafts in new and innovative ways, like Hassan Fathi and the new Gorna project in Upper Egypt. They were using the vaults and the traditional ways of building, so they get many sustainable buildings that is extracted from the nature of the area they are building in. And the modern Egyptian art got medaled global concern and local heritage, encouraging individual rather than traditional collective expression. When Egypt became an independent republic after 1952 revolution, artists searched for an aesthetic language drawn from Islamic traditions. They used calligraphy and geometric design to convey spiritual and political messages in decorative or abstract style, a trend that is known in Arab and some Islamic countries as the calligraphic school of art. The art of this generation challenges the audience to interact with themes drawn from daily life. It both empowers the viewers and demands a response. And of course, after that, if you can see, as a result of such long and multicultural history, it's clear that the Egyptian history has adopted many layers of different cultural heritage with unique art styles that you can see clearly in this picture. The observer can find that the view of Cairo is merging between the Great Pyramids from the Pharaoh eras and the Islamic mosques in one single view. This what leads us to the main themes of Egyptian civilizations as shown here. The first theme is the Pharaoh civilization. The second one is the Greek-Roman civilization. The third theme is the Islamic one. The fourth is the Ottoman. The fifth is the contemporary civilization. And as all of us, we are museum professionals, so I'm going to speak about some museums here in Egypt as a huge museums. Egypt has many different types of monuments, artifacts, and artworks that were inherited from our ancestors and proudly exhibited in over than 100 museums all over the country. But today I'm going to show you just three great museums from different eras. The first one is Luxor Open Air Museum. Luxor is as the old capital during the Pharaoh era, which is located in Upper Egypt, split by the Great River Nile into east and west bands, containing the greatest temples, tombs, statues in our history. Here you can find the map of Luxor. You will find on the right hand side Luxor Temple and Karnak Temple in the east band, and Hatshepsut Temple in the left hand side. Hatshepsut Temple, Memnon's statues, and the Great Valley of Kings and Queens that hosts their tombs built inside the mountains in the west band. The second museum is the Museum of Islamic Art that is located in Cairo and exhibiting a huge collection from the Islamic civilizations, paintings, wooden and copper manufactured artifacts, clothes, poetries, accessories, lighting fixtures, colored glass, copies of the Holy Quran, and many things like this. Of course, you can find even the elevation of the museum itself is extracted from the Islamic history, and also the internal decoration of the museum is getting some of the artifacts and using it as an internal wall for decoration. The third one, the last but not least, the third museum and the newest one here in Egypt, that all of the world have witnessed the translocation of the mummies from the center of Cairo to this museum. This museum is the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization. The museum is displaying a huge collection of artifacts that was designed to give the visitor the holistic experience of the evolution of the Egyptian civilization. The exhibits are representing different eras along the Egyptian layered history, prehistoric pharaohs, Greco-Roman, Coptic, Islamic Empire, and the modern Egypt. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening, and I'm so happy to be part of our conference today. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Great civilization, great country, great history. I wish you new project. I wish you new collaboration, and of course, this can help you to solve some. I wish that pandemic situation will be. Of course, we will be sometimes in your beautiful country. Thank you. And in conclusion, I would like to invite organizer, our guru of museography, Mohammed, please.
I think we are already late.
I invite you.
Yeah. Thank you very much indeed for everyone. It was really shareable, knowledgeable sharing. So I'm especially thankful for you, Cordelia, and then Martina, definitely, because without you too, it would have not been possible to do that. But it's excellent job. So all speakers done very well presentations. So I congratulate them. In fact, so let's see and hope to see you all on 18th. On 18th, right? Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, sir. It was a pleasure and an honor. Thank you.
Thank you, colleague.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. It was a pleasure.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.